You may be exhausted not because you have stopped caring, but because you are trying to hold together an outcome you were never able to control. You keep replaying the conversation, checking for changes, planning one more move, and calling that pressure faithfulness. Somewhere underneath it all is a frightening question. If I loosen my grip, will everything fall apart? But a closed fist cannot make a seed grow. It can only crush what it is desperate to protect. Scripture offers a better distinction. Surrender is not the moment you stop caring. It is the moment you stop confusing control with obedience. Before we look at 7 signs, we need to define the word. These are scripture-grounded prompts for self-examination. They are not omens, private revelation, proof that God caused your setback, or a guarantee that breakthrough is close. Control tries to own both your action and the result. Giving up abandons faithful action, responsibility, or hope. Biblical surrender does neither. Proverbs 3 calls us to trust God rather than make our own understanding the final authority. That trust remains active. You can pray, plan, seek counsel, protect what is vulnerable, and take the next faithful step while leaving the outcome with God. The first sign is that you can name what you want without turning it into a demand. Surrender does not require pretending you do not care. In Gethsemane, Jesus expressed the suffering before him honestly and submitted himself to the Father's will. His redemptive mission is unique. Our circumstances are not equal to his, yet the pattern of honest desire, submission, and obedience still instructs us. You can ask for healing, reconciliation, provision, or an open door. You can grieve when it does not come. The question is whether your prayer makes room for God's wisdom or whether religious words are hiding a private demand. The second sign is that you release the result while keeping your responsibility. Paul described one servant planting and another watering, while God gave the growth. That does not make planting unimportant. It puts human work in its proper place. Ask yourself, what is mine to plant or water today, and what growth can I not produce? You may need to make the call, prepare carefully, apologize, apply, rest, or ask for help. But you cannot force another person's response, manufacture healing, or command a timeline. Surrender removes the burden of playing God. It does not excuse neglect. Sometimes the boundary between responsibility and control requires counsel, expertise, and honest revision. The third sign is that you can take the next clear, faithful step without demanding the whole map. Proverbs 3 is not a promise of secret directions for every private decision. In context, it describes a life shaped by God's wisdom, correction, generosity, and trust. James also calls believers to ask for wisdom and to do what the Word makes clear. So ask, do I truly need more information, or do I want certainty before I obey? Some choices are genuinely complicated. Seek counsel and do not act impulsively. But when honesty, forgiveness, preparation, or a present duty is already clear, surrender lets you take that step without pretending you can see the entire road. The fourth sign is that waiting becomes active faithfulness instead of a countdown to breakthrough. James compares patience to a farmer waiting for the earth's fruit. The farmer cannot command the season, but waiting still includes tending what has been entrusted to him. In the same way, biblical hope can pray, prepare, serve, learn, and endure without turning every change into proof that the answer is almost here. A calendar can become another form of control when every day is measured against the result you demand. And waiting is not always the faithful choice. Some situations require action now, a boundary, treatment, reporting, protection, or help. Patience never requires you to remain in preventable danger. Notice the pattern. Surrender has not asked you to stop praying, working, grieving, planning, seeking counsel, or taking responsibility. It asks you to stop treating the result as something your pressure can own. Giving up drops the seed and walks away. Control crushes it in a closed fist. Trust opens the hand and remains faithful. The fifth sign is that your prayer becomes more honest, not more polished. Psalm 13 brings complaint, fear, questions, petition, and trust directly to God. Biblical lament may include protest, anger, confusion, disappointment, and grief that does not resolve quickly. Surrender is not proven by a calm voice or a tidy ending. Sometimes performing instant peace is another attempt to control how faith appears. Bring the truth to God, but do not turn pain into certainty about why He caused an event or what He must do next. Lament never excuses harm toward yourself or others, abuse, or refusing every form of truth, help, and responsible action. The sixth sign is that you become teachable instead of collecting confirmation. Proverbs says plans fail without counsel, while many advisors can bring wisdom. That does not mean every advisor is right, or that you hand your moral responsibility to a leader, friend, or online voice. Counsel must be weighed against Scripture, truth, relevant expertise, and the duties already in front of you. Still, surrender makes room to be corrected. Ask yourself, am I seeking wisdom or only agreement? If every challenge is labeled spiritual opposition, control may be protecting its preferred answer. A teachable heart can hear counsel that challenges both fear and desire, then make a responsible decision without pretending another person is infallible. The seventh sign is that your hope grows steadier than the outcome. Habakkuk describes devastating, visible loss and still locates his strength in God. That is not denial of material pain. Philippians joins prayer with disciplined attention and continued practice. 1 Peter joins humility with alertness and resistance. Together, these passages do not present peace as passivity or as proof that your preferred decision is correct. They show a faith that can remain rooted while circumstances are still unsettled. Ask the deepest question in this list. If this result changes, arrives much later, or never takes the form I expected, can I still pray, act faithfully, receive care and hope in God? Steadier hope can coexist with anxiety, grief, treatment, relapse, and repeated support. Here is one way to practice this distinction. It is not a technique for securing an outcome. It is simply an open-hand inventory. Take a page and write 3 lines. First, what do I honestly want? Name the actual desire, not the answer you think sounds spiritual. Perhaps you want the relationship restored, the diagnosis changed, the opportunity opened, or the uncertainty ended. You do not need to minimize that desire to surrender it. Bring it to God plainly. Let grief be grief, and let fear be named. An open hand is not empty because it feels nothing. It is open because the desire is no longer being used as a demand. Second, what faithful action is mine today? Make it specific and responsible. 1 conversation, 1 application, 1 appointment, 1 boundary, 1 hour of work, or 1 request for counsel. Third, what outcome or timeline can I not command? Put that into words too. Then pray the honest desire, take the responsible step, and entrust the uncontrollable result to God. In high-stakes situations, surrender never means ignoring danger or abandoning qualified help. Abuse, threats, medical or mental health concerns, legal duties, financial risk, and questions of treatment require appropriate expertise, reporting, boundaries, lawful responsibility, and sometimes leaving danger. Do not use this practice to remain unsafe or to avoid action that wisdom requires. A closed fist can feel strong because it is doing something, but pressure cannot give life to a seed. Biblical surrender opens the hand, places the seed into soil, and keeps returning to the work that is actually ours. The circumstance may not change today. You may still have questions, grief, responsibilities, and decisions to make. What changes is the burden you are trying to carry? Proverbs 3 does not invite you to become passive. It invites you to stop making your own understanding the final authority. Acknowledge God throughout your way of life and walk faithfully without claiming ownership of the result. Before you move on, complete the inventory privately. What you honestly want, what faithful action is yours today, and what outcome you cannot command. If it is safe to share, you can name only that next faithful step in the comments. You do not need to disclose the whole situation, and you do not need to declare a result. Let the response be small, honest, and responsible. Open your hand, take the next step, and leave the outcome with God.